Hey there, welcome to the sermon preview for this week. Really glad that you took a couple minutes here to watch this video to prepare yourself for Sunday morning. Now before we dig into our passage here just a little bit, I want to make a note of something. We've got two baptisms that are happening on Sunday. Gina and Cormac Wallace will be being baptized, and so come prepared to celebrate with them and participate with them in this. It's going to be great to see them as they take their next steps in their walk with Jesus. Sunday morning, we've got a couple baptisms, but we're also going to be continuing on in our He Went First series. This is actually the last Sunday for this series. So this is our intro series for our He Went First theme for the year of 2023, where we're looking at how Jesus is our example for everything in life. Anything that we go through, Jesus has been through it and He has paved the way, and He is an example for us in how we live our lives. So this week, the main theme or the main focus is that Jesus died. But we're gonna dig deeper into that, in that Jesus suffered, He died, but then also He lived. So Jesus died, but there was other things around with that. And how do we live how do we live as that as our example? So we're going to be looking at 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 18 through 25. And in this, the first couple verses might seem kind of strange as you read through this, of why are those important? Because it talks about how slaves or servants should be subject to their masters in respect and things like that. But as we dig deeper into this passage, we see that when Jesus was on the road to the cross, when He was on the road to death, He suffered. Right? And He suffered unjustly. And so as Peter is writing this, he's thinking about slaves or servants who may have suffered unjustly, or who may be suffering unjustly, or Christians who may be suffering unjustly, and how they can relate to that in Jesus. Because we see that when Jesus was suffering and on His way to death, He didn't threaten people, He didn't swear at them, He didn't put them down or call curses down. He continued to love them. He continued to endure with great perseverance. And so we see that Peter is calling the church here, and he's calling us to do the same thing, that when we are faced with suffering, we should endure with great perseverance and righteousness. Now, looking at verse 21. Verse 21 seems to kind of be the main gist of this passage. So verse 21, "For to this you have been called, because Christ also suffered for you, leaving you an example so that you might follow in His steps." Now, so this is saying Jesus suffered for us. He left an example for us that we might follow in His steps. So what were Jesus' steps? Well, we know in the next couple verses that Jesus' steps led to the cross. It led to death. So is Peter telling us, hey, you guys need to follow Jesus' footsteps and you need to go die? I'm not sure that that's exactly what he's saying, because later he says that we might die to sin and live to righteousness. So I think what Peter is saying here is, in Jesus' death on the cross, He conquered sin. He conquered death, right? And so what Peter is saying here is, if we follow Jesus' steps, we can conquer sin. We can conquer death through the work of Jesus. So we follow Jesus' footsteps in order to conquer sin, in order to conquer death, to die to sin and live to righteousness. So there's a lot of really good things here in this passage. And kind of the main idea is that, again, we're following Jesus' footsteps and seeing how He is our example to live. And here, for this passage specifically, we're looking at how Jesus suffered, how He died, and how He lived, and how that affects us. And so as you're reading through this, be thinking, how is Jesus an example for me in this passage specifically? So I'm really excited for Sunday. Again, we've got some baptisms happening. We've got a great passage to think about and talk about. Really looking forward to see what the Lord has planned. Take care.